holding spaces is saying, hey, I'm here for you. I'm not exactly offering advice or anything, but I'm here while you sit with this sadness. And then you redirect, right? And that redirection steers them away from trauma dumping. So
Mm.
then that person doesn't go deep into it and the service provider doesn't go deep in it.
Welcome to the Expansion Code Bridal Edition, the show for bridal hairstylists, makeup artists, beauty pros, and yes, even brides who want the behind the veil scoop. I'm your host, Heather Dick, bridal business coach, salon owner, and ringmaster of a 50-person squad that styles hundreds of weddings every year. Around here, we go beyond the hairspray. Think scaling your business, setting boundaries, surviving high-pressure moments, and creating client experiences that everyone raves about. So whether you're building your bridal empire or planning your big day, grab a coffee or champagne, and let's talk business, beauty, and a whole lot of bridal. Welcome back to another episode of the Expansion Code with Heather Dick. That is me, your host. I am so happy to be here with you today. Today, I have Anita Mittal. She is a registered social worker and trainer for SanaSoma Approach, and it is the first trauma-sensitive training for spa professionals in Canada, correct?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, Anita,
Yeah.
welcome to the show. Thank you for being
Thank
here.
you. Thanks for having me.
How are you feeling today?
I feel great. I feel excited to talk more about what's coming up for me.
Yeah, I'm excited to just hear your story, and because lots of times when individuals start a business, there's a personal reason or they've seen a gap in the industry or whatever it is. So I would like to hear a little bit from you about how you got into this, your background, where you started, even your favorite food. I don't care, whatever. You tell me about you.
Oh, favorite food? That's a big list because I love food.
Okay, good.
I love food a lot. I became a social worker in 2005. And it's actually funny because I didn't know what I wanted to do growing up. I didn't even like school, so I didn't really think about it. But a girlfriend and I, we went through some troubles in our childhood, in our teenagerhood. And we were saved by a social worker. And
Mm.
and then it brought us back into kind of in repair with our parents. And so we both vowed that we'd become social workers growing up, and then we both became social workers.
Wow.
So just because that one person decided to listen to us, acknowledge us, and then it just made an impact on us, and then we became social workers. So I've been a social worker for over 20 years, and just recently opened up my private practice. Part of my private practice is a body-based approach. I'm a somatic therapist, and years ago, because I'm really big on going to the spa. I'm really big on facials, getting my hair done. But when my daughter, who just turned 18, when my daughter started experiencing cystic acne at 11, I decided to teach her all about taking care of the cystic acne, taking care of the skin, and giving her education around it. So I started taking her to specialists and facialists to get her educated on how to handle her skin. And this is like where the ball was rolling for me, was when my daughter was in her appointments, and one of the estheticians there, he probably didn't know better, but he ended up making comments about her skin. And one of them was that she would never have a boyfriend if she had this much cystic acne.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
and there were just different comments over time where estheticians would say, oh, you don't clean your face and this and this, right? And once again, this is like, I don't think anyone knew better.
Of
And I
course.
think this is just kind of like their natural response to because in their own right, they're educators. But over time, my daughter was breaking down, really hating to go to see a skin specialist because they were commenting on her skin and so on and so forth. So I had to go in and as advocate and talk to the facialist prior and say, you are not allowed to talk to her about her skin at all, right? And these are
Mm.
these are the boundaries, and this is and this, right? So luckily we had luck with a couple people who kind of honored the boundaries, and we were able to have a better experience. So now she's 18 and she can advocate for herself when she's seeking a new specialist for her skin or her hair or anything else. about what her boundaries are in regards of people commenting on her skin, her hair, and whatnot. And so it just kind of like stuck to me for a long time. And then I had my own personal issue or problem with a laser technician who I went to the same laser technician for years. I was doing my bikini
Hmm.
and I was very careful interviewing them. So I do have a sexual abuse history. And so for me to be in that position, that really vulnerable position, I had to be really careful and on who I was going to see.
Right.
And so I had this lady, she was awesome. She made me feel really safe. I told her what I did and didn't like, and I helped her understand how to drape me better.
Right.
The first time I went to see her, though, the little underwears they give you, they were too small,
I know.
and
And they're so uncomfortable.
they're so uncomfortable. Right away, I felt like there was some shame, like some inner shame around me being a bigger girl, I'm more curvy, and
Juicy,
and
we call that. We call
yeah,
that juice.
juicy. And so I was like, okay. So we she worked with me. We managed to find something that worked, and so I advocated for better underwears just to support being body positive. And so I went with her. I went to her for years until one day I went to see her and I assumed the position, and
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 we
then I'm
and
like,
girls,
just
we all know that position. It is insanely vulnerable if you've never been in it. So like
absolutely.
it is you are exposed. Yeah.
So exposed. And
Yeah.
remember, I have no paper underwear on, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they don't have it in my size.
Yeah.
So somebody came in and it wasn't my person. And this person was so shocked to see me. And I was like, oh
Oh
my
my
God, like I
god.
got
Yeah.
caught in something that I started
Yeah.
like covering up. What happened is that the lady in the front ended up switching technicians with me.
Oh,
So the person that I usually get ended up with somebody else. And then I got someone I didn't know. And for me, that was the most, it was shameful and there was like a betrayal.
right.
It was a betrayal because I've always made it clear I'm always wanting the same person,
Mhm.
and it really, like, I didn't even do the service. I just got dressed and I left because I just felt like caught and
Mhm.
judged and just betrayed.
Yeah.
And so it was that at that point, things were rolling and rolling and rolling for me. It's like, this has to stop. This has to
Mhm.
stop. Even me, like even in my field, if it's not within my field of studies, I don't understand, right?
Right.
Someone told me I had to prep my skin before I did my makeup. I would never have known that because it's
Yeah.
not in my field,
Right.
right? So a person in the spa industry, it's not in their field to understand certain things
Totally.
that every person is bringing in their own story
Mhm.
and their own limited beliefs and traumas and stuff like that. It's if it's not within their field, they're not going to understand that they did something wrong, that they
Mhm.
harmed, right?
Mhm. Yeah, and I also think I'm just gonna sit there's so many things that are coming through my head because there's
Yeah.
been a lot of instances this year of this happening, specifically with my bridal team. And the feedback I've had from clients was, she made a comment about my skin. And I think that I'm not sure, maybe you're the professional here, so maybe you have something different to say, but in the past, maybe clients would stifle it down and they wouldn't say anything about it. And they would just be like, wow, that really hurt my feelings. I'm just going to suck it up and continue to go with it. And maybe they're getting a little more brave or they're a little bit more anxious. I'm not sure. I feel like there's like a balance of both, especially with a laser tech. I mean, how your appointment takes 10, 15 minutes max and half hour. Think about how many people are coming through their door on a regular basis. Not that you're not special, Anita, because you are, but to them, they're just pumping those laser clients out. And so we
Mhm.
get into this like auto mode of just picking up our brushes, doing the makeup, picking up the tool, doing the skill. And I think it's really important. what we're going to speak about today. And we need to remind ourselves of this. And this is your training. I'm so interested to hear what you do for professionals, because you're exactly right. We forget, or we don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's true, because I think if it's like I said, if it's not in our field, we don't realize what's actually happening on the inside or on the outside. And I
Hmm.
want to speak to that. Like many years ago, people probably just swallowed and just let it happen. But I did notice that since COVID actually opened up a lot of emotions and fear and just a lot of
Hmm.
stuff for
Yep.
people. And what's actually funny is I actually opened up my private practice a month before COVID hit. And I thought that I was doomed. I was like, oh my
Yep.
God, I just leased this new place in Summerside. It's
Yep.
expensive, and it's expensive in this area. And I'm like, I'm doomed. How am I going to pay my rent? But I was actually booked, booked
Perfect.
solid for 2 years, because when people stood still,
Mm.
their anxiety started showing up in their body, right? When people stood still, they had more time to think
And
because they're no
feel.
longer doing that auto robot thing.
Yeah.
And so I noticed that a lot of people had all their feelings on top of themselves, and Instagram and social media made these educational content so readily available that people were like, oh, that's me, that's me, that's me. And so now they're advocating for themselves, or they're telling people when it's not okay. Now they're understanding boundaries, or now they're speaking up. So many things were kind of rolling from starting from COVID all the way out. So I see a new generation of folks that are telling people like it's not okay,
Interesting.
or I'm so in touch with my feelings now that I'm going to tell you, like, I'm really sad that you talked about my skin. um,
Yeah.
so like it's kind of like the younger generation are really just kind of more out there now, right? And
Yeah, it's so funny that you say that, because well, it's not funny, I guess that's the wrong word to use, but ironic maybe, because if I listen to my team, and it's challenging for them. They're faced with, and it's just so you know, I'm hiring you to do training for my team. We'll talk about that after off camera, but because I try to prepare them, and I try to say, we need to make sure that we're listening to our clients, and like, not like hand holding and coddling them, but we just need to do better. It's interesting from the service provider point of view. They're like, COVID wrecked everyone. It wrecked everyone, and now everyone's so anxious, and they're so this, and I'll be honest, I think I've been a little bit guilty of kind of falling into that trap. But listening to what you're saying, it's the opposite. They're not wrecked. They're more open. They're feeling more.
absolutely, I think that depending on how old you are, I just turned 47, and I was never allowed to like talk about my feelings.
No.
Like we just never let that happen, right? and
Hmm.
and 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 obviously, and I'm from a minority group, and so culturally we weren't able to do that as well. Like we just kept going, so when I see like my 18-year-old daughter who's really good with her emotions and naming her emotions, or even, can I say, sensitive? um, I'm
We
like,
might get
whoa.
canceled, but yes.
If she's hearing this, I'm sorry. but but because of this generation, they're feeling all their feelings, right? Like,
Hmm.
they're super empathetic, or they have more empathy. They feel everything, right? And it's like, wow, like that's a lot of feelings. I wasn't allowed to have that feeling, and I don't know how to deal with this, because it's uncomfortable for us, right?
Do you think that the
To
pendulum swings like really far one way for us? I'm 40, like 80s babies. You would have been 70s, but still that like really like hard, tough love. I love you, mom. She doesn't even listen to this podcast, but she loves me deeply, but she says that she can't relate to it. But anyways, the pendulum swings really far to the one side where it's like tough love, suck it up, don't cry, you have nothing to cry about, you're not hungry, da da da. And then do you think that our children, 18-year-olds, that kind of thing, do you think they're on the other side of the pendulum where they're feeling too much? Is that
oh,
like, I'm not trying to like combat you, but I'm just curious if you've seen that in your world. Is there like a happy, like, I don't know, what are your thoughts there?
yeah, yeah. So, I mean, It's hard to say because like I only see like 0.5 of the population in the world, right? Or
Right.
0.0001. But from the people I have crossed, I feel like it's more of them being really close, that they just really have their feelings on themselves. I think there's more comfortableness to tell people how they feel. I feel like they're more in touch with their feelings than at least I was in the late 70s or and growing up in the 80s, right? They're just more in touch. I think they're just more in touch.
Hmm.
Um, and because there's freedom around showing and naming your emotions, because Instagram or social media has made it okay, has given them
Right. Hmm.
permission to do all that. So you'll see more of that come out.
Oh, this is such an interesting perspective. As a business owner of someone that deals with thousands of clients a year, this year was unprecedented with clients that, and it's all across the bridal industry. It's not just my company that's dealing with this, of clients that are unhappy with the initial service. And so they come back for a second time. And I think in our industry, we're so quick to get defensive and like, oh, well, it's, I'm doing everything and I listened to you and you didn't say this at the time. And you know what I mean? And so I certainly try to coach the girls down and, just understand this is the most important day of their lives and whatever. And so we kind of took it as the client being really anxious. But I wonder if it's that, again, in previous years, clients weren't speaking up and they were just going with it, or there was a couple, like quite a few instances where instead of making a change and having a second appointment, like I'm talking about trials before their wedding, instead of having a second trial, they would just make the changes on the wedding day because they felt comfortable then. I don't know. It's interesting. And I'm kind of going off topic and I'm just kind of like speaking my mind, but
Yeah,
but clients, people are changing. We're always changing. We're always
yeah,
evolving, and our service providers are changing and our clients are changing. But that is a trend that I've noticed this year, that clients are certainly speaking up and are either less happy with their services or more, I don't know, like indecisive. Anyways, it's
absolutely. So yeah, so I want to speak to that because I
okay.
also want to add that there are more diagnostic tools now than back then.
Right.
So things like ADHD, autism,
Right.
anxiety, depression, those diagnostic tools are more available, and doctors are more open to hearing all about that
Right.
than back in the day. So that's why we're going to see that flood of diagnosis come through. I think
Mm.
everybody now has ADHD, and fair, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Hmm.
it's we all have a spectrum of something, right? So
Agreed.
that's one.
Yeah, it's
As
fluid. It's
Yeah,
fluid. There's the word.
absolutely.
Yeah, love is a spectrum, sexuality is a spectrum, all of those things.
Absolutely. So when it comes to like clients that are coming in and changing their minds, definitely there could be some anxiety. Definitely there could be some, they change their mind because everybody feels differently every day because one day they're puffy, the next day they're not. And
Right.
so it all depends on what they are. I did like a rollout with Filament Hair Salon.
Mm,
Um, uh, Introducing them to my program. And what I did tell them is don't take anything personally because this is
yeah,
not about you.
totally.
This is not about you. This is not about
No. Yeah.
your creative parts. This is about how they're feeling at that moment, right? And I
Mhm.
think,
Mm.
and I think a lot of people, not just the spa industry, we forget to ask, what do they want, or what are they feeling like? And I
Mhm.
know for the most part, you guys do, but there's some that are going to miss that point. You're going to
Yeah,
miss it. How are you feeling today?
totally.
Right? Are you
Totally.
feeling loved? Are you feeling like you love
Yeah.
yourself? Do you
Yeah.
feel like good, calm,
Mm.
relaxed, anxious? Like, what are you noticing about today? So then when you're doing the trial or you're doing the actual day, makeup day, you can get a sense of where they're at because you have to meet them where they're at. Okay, so you're anxious, so I'm going to be the calm. And then
Yeah.
that's that constant check-in. How does this look? How does this look? I get that that would take longer for the service provider, but checking in, and I think is the most important part of the journey through
Mhm.
through through these services, right? Because that's what it is. It's a journey for them.
100%. And and so again, because people have changed, we have to think, I have to think on the fly when these trends start popping up, right? And so one of the things that I told my service providers, and I'm sure like-minded service providers, not just bridal hair and makeup, but hairstylist, nail tech, lashes, whatever. Lashes might be a little tough because your eyes are kind of like glued shut, but show them throughout the process. If they're feeling anxious, the last thing that someone wants is to be away from the mirror. And then, if for everyone listening on Apple and Spotify and everywhere else, I'm not facing the camera right now, away from the mirror. And then, boom, you've got this review. And it's like, okay, first of all, so much pressure to please my service provider because they've just put an hour and however much into work into this. And so they're like, what do you think? And they're like, a moment to process, like not only do I need a moment to process, but I'm totally surprised by this. And so if we have someone that's a little bit more on the anxious side, that just throws them right off. And
Mhm.
so one of the things that we talked about now that the girls are trained to do is check out throughout the process, throughout the what are you feeling about this? Do you like this? Do you like this darker, whatever? One question I do have for you, Anita, with the question, how are you feeling today? What if the stylist or the nail tech or the service provider doesn't know how to handle that emotion that their client is feeling? So let's say if they give anything but, I feel great. What if they say, I feel really sad? What does the service provider do then?
I always tell people don't offer advice
Mm,
because your advice is not that it's not helpful, but it could lead to a lot of other things later on. So it could
mm,
lead them to trauma dump further. It could lead to maybe a conflict. If you offer it advice, they take
right,
it and then they come back at you and saying it's all your fault.
right.
So a lot of things can happen when you offer advice, especially if you're not a professional.
Hmm.
So I always say acknowledge,
Mm,
acknowledge, and acknowledge, acknowledge. I think everybody feels better if someone says, "Oh, I'm feeling sad." I would be like, I am so sorry to hear that you're sad, right? I would say, what can I do to make it better while I'm doing your hair? Or is there something different I can do with your makeup? Or is it okay to sit with this sadness and let me just hold space for you?
mm,
Right? Holding space doesn't require training, holding space doesn't require experience. Holding space is just saying, hey, I'm here for you. I'm not exactly offering advice or anything, but I'm here while you sit with this sadness. And then you redirect, right? And that redirection kind of steers them away from trauma dumping. So
mm,
then that person doesn't go
mm,
deep into it and the service provider doesn't go deep in it. So
right.
you redirect them. What would you like to do with your hair? Would you want to apply different makeup?
Hmm.
But you acknowledge and redirect. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense. Quick pause because I have to brag on my first business baby, Blush Artistry. If you know me, you know that blush isn't just work, it is love. And we are talking hair, makeup, skin treatments, private personal training, the full beauty experience inside and out that makes you feel like the main character, whether it's your wedding day, a birthday, or just because you love taking care of yourself. My team, they are absolute pros. They've got the talent, the heart, and the hype to make you feel amazing. That's why Blush is the go to beauty squad in Western Canada. Can I get an amen? So if you're ready for a little glow up moment, head to blush artistry.ca or catch us on Instagram at blushartistrymua. All right, let's get back to the show. When you say hold space, what do you mean by that?
Yeah. So holding space is just kind of like just being there, right? So it's just kind of like that person is saying, well, I won't say much I won't say much to the story you're telling me, but just being here with you. It's like that silent, I'm here for
Mm,
you without offering advice,
yeah.
right?
I yeah, I think it's even in relationships, I know Cameron and I we're after 11 years we're here. We'll say, do you need me to listen or do you want me to give input? And I think even just not that you wouldn't do that with your client, but just that's an example of holding space. Like, do you need me to just be an ear because I can do that or whatever.
Mhm.
I think it's a and the only reason why I ask is because I think it's a term that we throw around a lot, and I don't know if people actually like understand what that means because I think a lot of
Mhm.
people might think holding space is allowing them to trauma dump or giving advice or whatever. So thanks for clarifying
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. Yeah, holding space is acknowledging, like, yeah, I see that you're sad. What would you like to do about it? Like, what would you like to do? Sometimes, in this instance, I would say, do you want to take a break?
Mm,
Do you want a glass of water? Can I make you some
yeah.
hot tea? Do you want to just kind of like do a little walk around? Sometimes moving around can be
Mm,
good. Um,
let's step
so that's
outside.
even
Yeah.
then that's holding space, right? Go outside, go in the sun. Do you want to go and touch grass for grounding, right? So I would offer something that could be supportive, but not advice.
Mm,
It's acknowledging that they have feelings, and that you're there for them in this capacity, right? You're also
hmm
creating that boundary with them, right? Well, I can't offer you any advice, but why don't we take a break? Or what would it look like if we took a break,
mm.
right? So,
And it's tough because I hope that service providers that are listening to this, because it's making me really reflect on how we schedule. If we're allotting only an hour for service that takes 45 to 60 minutes on average, if we have a client that needs a little bit more time, we're not doing ourselves any favors and we're not doing our clients any favors because that one client that needs more time needs that time and you're not going to force them through it. But then you're also potentially running late for your next client that you're back to back, so that's
yeah,
interesting. I hope that we can take, if anyone's listening, I hope that you can take that away, just even just reflect on how you schedule because you don't know who's going to walk into your room or sit in your chair or um, walk into your life as a service provider that day. So being prepared for those kind of I don't even
situations.
yeah,
Yeah,
and I don't even
yeah,
know what you would call it, but I think that's
yeah.
really, that's really helpful.
Yeah. But this is why the intake form is so much more important. And
Mm.
so part of my training program includes a trauma sensitive intake form, right? Because it's the intake
Oh,
form
so good.
that's going to actually help you look at the person as a whole. This person is coming in as a whole soul, a whole spirit with things on them, right? Maybe they're
Mhm.
fighting with their soon to be husband, maybe getting married, maybe they're getting married without their mom because their mom died last year, right?
Yeah.
So it's walking with them through this journey and knowing that it's not about making them it's not just about making them feel beautiful on their big day, but this is about what are you taking with you when you come sit at my chair,
Mhm. Oh,
right? So the
yeah.
intake form is going to be the most important thing because it gives you that whole picture. It gives you the whole picture.
Well, and you and I are not spring chickens, Anita, let's be honest here. Um, so we've seen some things. You have children, right? Cameron, we have a very, very grief-filled history regarding children. You and I have probably seen deaths. We've seen lives be born. There's so many things that we've gone through already at the age of 40 and 47. When our service providers, let's say they're 20, and maybe they have gone through those things. I'm not saying that age is related to grief, but a lot of times I find as we get older, it's easier to walk in someone else's shoes and realize that everyone has a story. And so maybe if they're freaking out because they didn't get their $100 deposit back, it's not about the $100. There's something else that's behind that. So, individuals like yourself and myself, we can see through that. Whereas lots of people, we just react immediately. It's like, well, Karen, you're supposed to get your $100. You know what I mean? Like we're not able to put ourselves in those shoes. And I think that the training that you're doing is changing. Like it's honestly, it's probably like saving lives. Really, that sounds like might sound dramatic, but it's true because we do all have our own things, and if people held space for us the way that we needed, I think it would be a much more peaceful existence.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm just creating a do no harm culture.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the biggest thing for me, right? Is just kind of like do no harm. It's not because you know, not because there's ignorance or not because of whatever. This is more of like, oh hey, you guys, like this person that is hiring you has a story, has a
Hmm.
history, and it's good for you to know um what trauma looks like on the body
Hmm.
or how trauma shows up on your chair, right? Because there are going to be humans having human experiences in your chair, because everything that the spa industry does is so impactful, and I don't think people
Yeah,
understand how impactful it is to change a person's hair um, after recovering from cancer, and now
totally.
their hair has grown, or a person who has skin conditions, and skin specialists are doing their thing to reduce the redness or reduce the texture, or even like laser skin people. It's such a big impact, and
Yeah,
people don't understand. Like, even just anyone, not just spa industry, I'm talking about everybody, even
totally.
myself,
100%.
like sitting back and saying, what an honor,
Yeah.
what an honor to be a part of this impact.
Hmm.
Because sometimes I have people sitting in my chair and or on my sofa, and they're telling me all their stuff, and I'm thinking, oh my God, this person trusts me to
Hmm.
listen and hold space and acknowledge and do all the things to help them with their trauma. It's the same thing,
Yeah.
right?
I also think that you'll hear this all the time from hairstylists specifically. I'm like a therapist. I listen to everyone's problems. I'm like a therapist. And I've certainly heard it in the salon lots of times. And I've had to coach some girls, like, let's try to stay away from this topic. Or let's not, even though it seems a little bit lighthearted, let's not really talk about how expensive groceries are. That sounds really minor, but I think we certainly do forget the impact that we have on individuals and how much energy we're sharing, because we're just going through the motions because we're so busy and we're double booked and we've got this and this and this. And, if we take time to slow down and like you said, really reflect on the impact that we have with each of our clients, I think that it'd be just, well, I almost guarantee that you would have a lot more client retention if you struggle with that. Because maybe you're offending your clients and you don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe you're saying something and it's completely turning everyone off. I would like to know, I'm kind of putting you on the spot, sorry. Do you have an example of like a really transformative experience that you've had with any of your spa partners or working with a client? Is there anything that you've seen that's like, oof, this is why you need this training?
So the skin specialist that works with my daughter, her and I, we were next door neighbors, and so I would talk to her a lot about some of the stuff that, like, the work that I do, and she was really interested in like therapy stuff, and so I would give her some knowledge around like trauma and how to be like more sensitive to other people's experiences. So she took some of my stuff, like I sent her some material, she did some reading, and so I think my daughter um, has had the best experience with her skin specialist, and so now she doesn't get scared when she goes sees her therapist. Now she can show the parts of her that she's shameful about, right? Which could be like a cyst on her chest, or like a acne on her back. But before, she would hide it. She would, like, there was so much shame around like pimples and acne and stuff like that. But now she's able to like make an appointment on her own and go see her and get done, and to know that she's not going to be judged,
Yeah,
and that the
that's
questions that
huge.
she'll ask her will
Yeah.
be more sensitive.
Especially something like acne, it's so visible. You're wearing your trauma on your face or on your chest or on your back. Something like abuse, you wear that inside of you. So no one can see that. And both are insanely challenging to deal with internally. But at least with the acne, it's visible, so, like, their service provider could say, "Okay, I know not to do this," but with your intake form, now you have that ability to see everything inside and out, and I think that that's so brilliant. I'm not gonna get you to tell what's on the intake form because I want people to hire you. But I think that's brilliant, and I think that it allows people to be seen for everything that could cause a trigger.
Absolutely. And there's some people that don't understand that, especially the skin specialists, that they don't understand that any form of acne, texture, rosacea, all of that stuff is actually a nervous system issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when my daughter shows up with cysts, she's going to ask, what kind of stresses are you having in your
Yeah.
life?
Yeah.
Right? It's not about, did you clean your face? Are you using the right products? It's more like, okay, like, have you been stressed out? Right? And
Mhm.
this, and this, right? So it's asking those questions and understanding that it's a nervous system issue, right?
I'm so glad you said that because I was going to mention it's usually like cystic is usually internal, as I know in my industry, but I didn't want to get into the your specialist is doing the wrong thing. But it's so true. What happens inside shows on the outside.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, it is. And even with when we talk about the gut is also the third brain, right?
Hmm.
And it's also a nervous system issue, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it is about what you eat, but it's also about what are you holding on to, right?
Hmm.
So
And
yeah.
consuming, not in a food way, but the content that you're consuming, the TV shows, the books, the podcasts, even people that you're allowing to trauma dump on you, all of those things, they affect your nervous system. And I try to tell the team, like when they're like, "Oh, I love this true crime podcast." I'm not hating on them. I just think that it is implanting the wrong thing into your brain, right? And so your nervous system is like when you're out for a walk, which is supposed to be pleasant and therapeutic for you, and now you're looking over your corner like you're going to get
Now you're
kidnapped.
paranoid.
Yeah, gosh.
Actually,
But
it's funny because most people who like true crime stuff, who like to have a little jolt, they probably have like they probably have some sort of ADHD because we need
hmm,
that extra dopamine, right? We need that extra like fright, right? Like I'm a big horror fan, just like, because I was telling you before about my paranormal stuff.
yeah,
I
right.
need that extra like fright because it actually awakens me. And
Huh. Isn't there a different way that you could get that
oh yeah,
dopamine rush?
yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm not no judgment zone here. No judgment zone. You do you, girlfriend. It is not for me, but that gives me nightmares, literally. But
Yeah.
everyone's so different. Honestly, this has been so impactful. I hope that we've given our listeners enough, like in like bite-sized takeaways. I'd like to hear a few more from you if you can, just like quickly. But I hope that this episode has really kind of ignited a little bit of curiosity in our listeners' brains because, and even a reminder, we're dealing with people here. They're not mannequins. They're not someone that is just a head of hair. It's not someone that just is a layer of skin. It's people that have had real life experiences and things that have happened to them. And we impact them just the same way you impact someone at the grocery store or someone on the road if you tell them off. We're all connected to one another. Um, so do you have a few things or one or two, whatever, things that a spa owner or service provider could implement into their business kind of right away that would help with what we're talking about today?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think one of the biggest things is when you're in conversations. I remember that rollout I had with filament. Everyone's like, "Well, what am I supposed to talk about if I'm not supposed to say this, and this?" You will find ways to talk up to your clients that are
Totally.
not personal related. So acknowledge their feelings and redirect if they trauma dump, and you'll see it. Make space for yourself
Mm,
as a spa provider, even in leadership. Make time for yourself in between clients. So it could look like going outside, touching grass, touching a tree. It could look like shaking, doing some shaking, to let go of all that energetic exchange that just happened. It could look like just talking to your colleague or your boss, saying, "Hey, that one was really tough,"
mm,
right? And just make allowances for those feelings and to know that it's okay. So, lastly, if it gets to be so much, if it gets to be a lot, get a therapist to help
yeah.
you understand some of those emotions because, spa providers see a lot of people. And a lot of people have a lot of stuff that could be transferred to them, or it could trigger them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's good to understand your own triggers and be like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
okay, like I want to heal that part of myself that gets defensive when a client doesn't like my makeup,
Totally.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a I know I said we were going to end the episode, but I'm going with it. I have a question about talking to your colleagues because I do find this to be a little iffy. So it's really common in the spa industry, salon industry, to have a challenging experience and then go to your colleague who is potentially also having a challenging day. And then you say, oh my God, Anita just said this, and this, and she talked about this, and it's like I'm like struggling with this. And so how do you approach it when your colleague is potentially also having a
Yeah,
challenging day? Do you have any advice for that?
absolutely. Ask for permission.
Yeah, amen. I was hoping you were going to say that because I would I s- would and I'll tell everyone what I say. I'll say like, "Hey, I have something. It's a little heavy. Do you have the capacity for this right now?"
Hmm.
No, I don't. I'm busy. Okay, no problem. I'll see if I can, find something else or whatever. But we don't ask for permission enough, and then we just verbal diarrhea over someone, and it's oh gosh, it's the worst, kind of.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, like the spa industry in itself historically has always been the gossip hut,
Hmm.
right? And so it is culture to gossip at the spa, right?
Yeah.
And that's including spa providers, right? Because
Hmm.
everyone's just blurbing everything out because it's a space to do it,
Yeah.
right? So now it's like, okay, I'm coming in and saying, no, everybody, consent,
Yeah.
boundaries
Yeah.
and consent,
Yeah.
right?
It's really challenging being a business owner, full stop. Having a team is quite challenging. And honestly, I had to limit the amount of time I spent in the studio for that reason. I don't know if it's making it worse or better because now my time is limited. So I feel like I kind of get attacked when I'm in there. But they do have an open, anyway, I'm digressing. But as a business owner, I can relate to you if you're feeling like you walk in and you just get this isn't working, the hot water tank's not working, and there's the battery runs out, and it's a lot. So training your team to kind of approach you with care is would probably be a savior, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
um this and this has been great. I think what you're doing out there is certainly God's work, and I think that the whole do no harm, I hope you make a t-shirt with that on it, wink wink.
Yeah.
Because
It's on the
I
list.
I'd wear it, and I would I'm not kidding. I think that I would love to have you in the studio to do some work with the team or myself as a leader. I'm not sure what your packages are. We'll talk about that off air, but especially in modern day, we're recording this in 2025. It's 5 years post COVID. Times are changing and people are changing, and like you said, we're a lot more aware of our emotions. So thank you for doing what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you for acknowledging that.
Where can our listeners find you if they're interested to speak with you more?
Yes. So I don't know my handle, right? But um, my IG account is SanaSoma Approach. So
Okay.
Sana, SanaSoma Approach. You can see all my good stuff on Instagram. I don't have a Facebook. I find Instagram more helpful. And then otherwise, my website, SanaSomaApproach.ca.
Excellent. We'll have everything in the show notes as well. So we'll make
Mhm.
it very easy and clickable for you to find Anita. And hopefully, if you're interested or need her services, you can reach out. It has been a pleasure talking to you today. Thank you for sharing all of your knowledge. And I hope to see you soon, Anita.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning into the Expansion Code Bridal Edition, your VIP access to a booked out, balanced, and thriving bridal business. If you loved today's episode, hit subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow beauty pro. For more tips and behind the scenes magic, hang out with me on Instagram at IamHeatherDick or visit theexpansioncode.ca. Until next time, keep slaying those styles, leading with confidence, and remember, every detail counts, and so do you. Another little disclaimer, while I love sharing advice and business wisdom, I am not your lawyer, I'm not your accountant, and I'm not your fairy godmother. If you do want to be best friends, though, you can hit me up. Everything on this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only, so no lawsuits, okay?